Okay, so this is the last ride on this lift as it is. Let's go in here. So open the door. Lights come on. This purple strip that's just inside the door frame here. This is called the light curtain, and basically, if anything's crossing the light curtain, the lift won't move, and you'll get this flashy thing on here to say that the light curtain's interrupted. Obviously make sure it's on here, and on the ceiling there's this switch here which we just leave on. We take the key out if we don't want anyone to use it. Also make sure the emergency stops off. If the emergency stops on, it makes this horrible beeping noise, but you just rotate it and it pops back out. Up button, down button, two remotes with the same thing that will just press and hold. Oh, I've done wrong now. After the emergency stop, I think you have to switch it off and by the key. There are times where it will not go all the way up or down. It has to complete a cycle. If one of the sensors are hit on the top or the bottom of the lift, it has to complete the cycle, and I think especially if it's going down, it's a safety precaution. It is in the manuals if you can get the manuals, but yes, that is it. I'm going to step out. Oh, haven't gone all the way up. Oh, that's what happens. So here you go. So because I went up and didn't go all the way up and interrupted it with a cool down, it won't go all the way up. The door won't open. So you have to go all the way down. It's a bit of a faff, but yes, you can then get out, come back in, go all the way up. We won't interrupt it this time. Obviously, while the while the lift's moving, the door has a magnetic lock, so I'll just go down to show that. So I'm sort of like halfway between floors. Door won't open. We do have, in case of an emergency, on the keys, this will open the door. You can just reach round, put it in there, that'll open the door, and then, you know, if there's a power cut or whatever, you could escape. That's all fine. Put the key back in. I'll get an angle on this. Oh, press the button on the remote control. Right, going all the way down. There we go. And we can get out. The lights will go off after about 20 seconds. The lights and the sensor for the remote controls all run off a 12-volt battery that's inside there. So I'll show you that when we come to take it apart. There they are, they've gone off. And that's it. And then it's connected to the mains. I don't know whether you can see, there's a plug socket just up in the ceiling there. The cord will only go so far. So if you haven't got a plug socket mounted to your ceiling or close to the top, you can run an extension lead. You just have to be careful, make sure the wire doesn't obviously get trapped in the mechanism or on the lift or anything. But yeah, as for safety sensors, this bit at the bottom here, that's got sensors in to detect when it's coming down. Got a similar thing on top, which you can't quite see, but those sticky up prong things there, and there's I think there's about 5 or 6 of them, but they detect when there's something sitting on the you know, the ceiling thing, the floor covering, and they will stop the lift going, stop the lift moving if they're triggered. So yes, all right, I will start taking it apart. Right, so there's the lift halfway up, and I'm going to take the floor covering off. Just angles out. Over there, you've got your danger, whatever. Be careful. Take that out. And the first thing I'm going to do, because it says so, is going to unplug the inverter. Just like that. And the other thing I'm going to do is, because the lights run off the oh yeah, this is going to be a pain in the backside actually. I was going to say, because the lights run off the 12 volt system, I'll disconnect the lights, but then if I disconnect the lights I lose my remote control access. I'll think of a solution. Okay, so this is the electrics panel, and this was behind this cover, which goes in and around under there. There's a threaded bar. I'll be putting that back on anyway, so because that'll be the top of the lift shaft, but you'll need to take it off anyway because the winch thing is going to be separate. But to make the winch separate, we need to, I've made a custom control panel to replace the panel down there, which will stay in the lift. So this cable should be long enough to go floor to ceiling on both floors. And I'll leave this attached, but just so you know, there's a green spot with a green cable in and a yellow spot with the yellow cable in. I'm going to take the green cable out because the green cable goes to the control panel down there. And I'm going to put in my one, and I'll leave my one in, but just showing that in there. And then lifts that on. Right, so after that, this cable's in the way of the light curtain, I haven't sorted that out yet, but this is up, this is down, this is emergency stop, so if you're going up, oh, you can press that button and it will stop the lift from working. This one's the same as turning the key in the ignition. This is another stop button, but I'll show you the difference. You could just click this again and then you can continue to operate the lift. If you press the red one though, that's like pressing the emergency stop. So obviously it'll not work, but if you go to switch it on, it also still won't work. You have to turn the key to get it to work after using the emergency stop. So you have to turn that and do that again, and then it'll work again. Just a safety thing in case this one fails, but I wouldn't recommend using that one. Typically just use that one when passing the remote control between floors. So yes, that's that. So I'll throw that in. I've also made up in the installation guide, it talks about replacing this blue cable with a bridging cable. I've made one of those as well, so I will probably be leaving that in there, but I'll talk about that when I get to that bit. Okay, so another quick update. This link here is normally disconnected. Okay, so in normal operation, once you've got it all set up, disconnect it. But what this does by connecting it is it bypasses the light curtain. So it means that you can have something in the way of the lift here, like the cable might dangle in front of it or whatever, but it won't shut off. So this disables the light curtain, kind of. It still triggers the sensor to say that something's got in front of it, but it won't actually stop the lift. So yeah, remember to disconnect this, otherwise your light curtain, your safety thing here won't work. All right. Okay, so next step was disconnect the light curtain. So that's this cable. This cable will be on the hoist bit, the top bit, with all the electrics. This bit is coming up through the cart and, you know, actually connects to the light curtain. There's one on the other side as well, does exactly the same thing. So those need to be connected back together, as well as disconnecting this for your light curtain to work properly when you come to put it all back together. Okay, so we have now put in place the jumper cable thing that I've made, and removed this one. This is the sensor for the safety pan at the bottom. So we're just going to go downstairs and start removing that bit of the actual lift. So looking at getting the lift in three parts: the safety pan from the bottom, the actual cart itself, and the hoist. So there'll be the three bits. And this just remember that you need to replace this cable with the actual blue cable, which runs through and down the lift to the safety pan. So but I'll make sure that this is attached to the side of the cart, so that it doesn't fall through the holes and you don't have to thread it through. Okay, we've got two different types of screws. We've got four of these screws that have got this funky sort of end on for cutting through fabric, I think, and three fairly normal bucket screws. The three normal ones fitted to this bar, which was round the bottom of this floor pan here, which is velcroed on, and the other screws were in the side. There's two this side and two the other side. Okay, so we've removed the velcro cover. Velcro cover should just go on. You can see the shape of it, so it'll only fit one way. And under here is our blue cable, which connects to that blue cable at the top. So we're just going to take that out. Disconnect that. There we go. So that's removed from there, and our jumper's already in at the top anyway, so this is not doing anything now. And I guess what we need to do is look at removing the floor of this. So, yep. Okay, so this control panel on the right side of the lift, this block here connects into this bottom right thing here. This controls the lift door, magnetic and other bits, other sensors around the lift door. But this is on a cable that goes essentially down the lift shaft, so we need to disconnect it. If you just disconnect it though, your lift will stop working. So there's a little switch at the side here. If you turn it on, your lift won't work because it's expecting a signal from these cables. But if you flick this little switch down here, that's in the off position now, and now it will work without this cable being attached, which means that this cable can then be fed back through to here, and along with the yellow and green cables that were in there, and the blue cable was in there. That's the bypass one. The original one is already out, which goes down this right hand column as you're looking at it. Sensors are disconnected, so I think we can now get the hoist bit away from this bit, and I think that's done just by undoing these. There's 4 screws in here, so we're going to try that. Okay, so before we detach the hoist from the cart, we need to get rid of these gripper rods apparently. So that's what I'm going to do next. From above this plate here, double nut on the top. So I'm going to climb up my ladder and get at those. So behind the cable, on behind the cable, drop those out, because then we can, let's make it all unstable and everything, but we can then get the cart out and then take the hoist off. So that's what's happening next. Okay, so back downstairs, we remove this really long pole from this side of the lift. So there's one on this side, this is on the right side, and it went through this, and there's a, oh, if you can see up there, it's a bit difficult to get my phone in there, up there, but there's a little hole. See if I can zoom in on it, upside down and back to front. Well, you can't see it, but oh yes you can. It's just on the, it's just there. That's that circle there. You have to feed it up into that. I think this comes apart. It looks like it's sectioned in places, but we'll try and get it apart as well. So what's the next step? The next step is to remove this one. These are just the guide rods, so I need to remove this one from this side as well. Oh, yeah. Okay, so now we have taken off the rail from that side, and obviously that big long guard pole, and also from this side with the big long guard pole as well. I've then threaded the cables that were going into the hoist out the top of the thing where they sit. So they were coming through, I can't get in the lift at the moment. So they were coming through this hole. I've threaded them out through the top So there's the yellow one, the green one, and this really long white one, which ends in this little block that we plugged in earlier, or had plugged in earlier. So you need to be aware of that and be careful of that when threading it through the hole. And on the other side, it's just this blue cable for the sensor pan at the bottom is also threaded out the top. Then undone the 4 bolts that are inside. 4, yeah, sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, so there's 2 on each side for that. I've also, at the back is obviously where the cable came in through this hole here. So I actually took it out of the wire because I'd already lowered the lift. I couldn't reach the connection in the hoist, but using the connection in the hoist would be easier. So obviously before you drop this in, you would need to take the cable out and or once you've lowered it down, you need to take the cable out of the hoist, the electrical cable, thread it through this hole, or via the plug, whichever way you find easiest, and then connect it back to the hoist so you can lift the hoist up. So yeah, you'd have to be careful with the balancing of the hoist, and I'll do that in the next bit. But yeah, the frame is now, or the car is now free from the hoist. Okay, we've now got the winch to, well, I'll put it to the table rather than to the floor, but this is just like a workbench table thing. This is quite heavy, obviously. It's got a big motor on it. But I thought we'd run by a couple of things while it's down here. I've slackened the cable, ready to take it out the ceiling. Okay, but obviously when you feed the cable up, you need to tighten it by obviously pulling up on it, keep the tension on that cable wheel. Otherwise, when the cable gets threaded through this wheel, it'll misalign and it will cause problems. It goes slack and jump around and stuff like that. So you don't want that. So you need to keep the cables tight. You'll have to do it on both sides as well, because there's also a cable over here. We've got this resting on a piece of wood on the table. It's only about an inch thick, but it just keeps the ceiling bit away from the lights from touching the table, and there's a power switch, or well, underneath there's the red power switch of the lift. I've also detached this sensor, which I'll put back on for transportation. This sensor is for when the lift is going up in the rail, it'll hit something. In fact, I think this one's for the lower one, yeah, so it'll hit the lower rail and go up to tell it when it's at the right floor. And the one on this side I've also taken off, but I'll attach. I'm just making you aware that you'll probably need to detach these to put this hoist back into the top of the lift, because these are very close to the edge of the edge of the lift. The edge of the casing, they sort of like stick out through this gap here, but they're quite close to one of these edges. So you just need to be careful with that. The other thing is, when you have, I have turned this is your sensor for detecting whether it's left or right enough, stable in the thing. But basically you just loosen that off, and this should sit between these two sensors. As you can see, this would push this sensor right the way down and stop it from working. While it's just on its hoist, it's fine like this. You'd have to push down with a bit of weight to keep this balanced. So push down at the front with quite a bit of force, because this is obviously a heavy motor at the back. But yeah, I'll leave this out the way so you can do that, but remember to put that back in when you've put the car on, or when you're about to put the car on. So that's all adjusted. And the other one is this slack rope sensor, that needs to be pressed down the whole time or in all the time. Again, you've got like a little foot thing that you can adjust to do that. But if any of these sensors are triggered, or in this case this one is released, the lift won't go up or down anymore. So you'd have to do hard reset, so that like pressing the emergency stop button, then taking it back off again, and then do the key ignition. So key ignition off, key ignition on, and then these buttons will work again. I'm not going to demonstrate that just because I've got slack rope on the drum, so I won't do that anymore. But that's what will reset that once you've got all your sensors realigned and in the right position. Okay, right, that's that. Next part, I guess, unscrew the cables from the ceiling and detach these last rails, take out the bit that's around the hole, and that should be it, job done. Right, just a quick thing on the cables, getting those out. As you can see, I've done this side already. The way I did it was loosen off this one at the bottom. That allows you to push this up, and then you can get these off, drop it down, loosen them off again, drop it down, because this goes through the ceiling a little bit, but it doesn't actually screw into anything. So yeah, just give us a sec. Okay, so loosened this one and this one. Now should be able to lift this one up, loosen this one off, and then the whole thing will drop down a bit more, and then you'll be able to get the bolts off. Okay, so with the cable gone, you can now get to the gripper rod bit. This was the thing that held the gripper, those really long pole things, on. So yeah, if you just undo the top one, and then you can essentially unscrew it from the bottom really, and that'll push that nut up. So yeah, that's what I did on this side. That one's gone. So that side's next. Back downstairs, we have obviously got this already on the table, which you've seen, but we're now ready to basically say bye-bye to this. So we've got our power lead on here. We've wound the cable back onto the drum under tension. So, I mean, obviously it's not under tension from that bit, but we've got a little blob of blue tack on our, which way around, this way around, isn't it? A little blob of blue tack on the end of this sensor thing here to keep that pressed down for our slack cable. So you'll need that when you're unfeeding the cable from here, so that you can connect this to the ceiling. Remote control, I've disconnected one end of the Cat5 from there and the other end from there, just bundled it together. Might put this in a bag or something to keep that all together. Right, powering it all up. When you come to power it up, don't just plug it straight in. First of all, connect the car battery. So I've disconnected the positive and negative leads there. Obviously red wire goes to the positive and black goes to the negative. Then plug in the inverter, which is on this strange 3-pin plug here, and then there's a red switch to turn that on, and then your main power lead, plug into the mains, wherever it's convenient, and it'll take about 30 seconds to start up, if that. Obviously plug in your remote into the green one here, and then you should be good to use this. And if it does get stuck for whatever reason, normally red, black will do a reset. So this is like pressing the emergency stop. and pressing it again will be like releasing the emergency stop. This will be like turning off the key in the cab. Pressing it again will be like turning on the key in the cab. Up and down. This is in a ready to go configuration, but you can tell if there's no resistance on the button, then that's pressed in. If there is resistance, then it's not pressed in. So yeah, that's like that. So that's pressed in. That's pressed in at the moment. That's not pressed in. So you want the black one pressed in, and you want this one off. So this is like the emergency stop bit has been pressed. So this shouldn't work at the moment. Right, yes. Back on with removing these bits and pieces now. Okay, so we have got rid of our guide rails. Now they are down there, and they were held in. You see those holes there in the side of the thingy, side of the floor. At the bottom of these guide rails, they were held in with these long, heavy-duty screws, and then at the top, this panel was held in place at the top. I guess this is to help keep it all level. But this long panel, 6 screws, and they are these dome top screws. So that's what was holding that in place. So just about to take this all downstairs. Okay, so final piece of the puzzle. There's the bedroom. There's downstairs. Removing this piece around here. It's riveted in. So it should just be a case of drilling out those rivets all the way around. And that should all come apart. Okay, so the final piece is out, which was this piece. This is actually upside down, but this sits on the floor through the hole. And it was riveted to this piece. So that's all of that. There's the floor piece that would go in there as well, and this is the cover for the motor housing, the hoist. So that would just sit on top of this. And then we've got a little bag of goodies here. So we have got these things, the rail floor plates. So they sat on the floor with the rails connected into them. There's 2 of those. We have got a Cat 5 cable for the remote control. We've got the homemade remote control, so one end in there, one end into that green port that showed many times before. Keys that we put in a bag just in case the carrier bag got a hole in, stop them easily falling out. Floor pan screws, so these are the ones that go into the bit at the bottom of the lift with the leatherette cover, to cover up all the sensors and whatever else. That's those. The top side rails and ceiling piece, so that was the rails that connected into from the side and into the wood up there ultimately. Use those brass screws for that, and there's those 6 screws for connecting that funny shaped ceiling piece there into the ceiling. the car to hoist screws. So these were inside the car and connected to the hoist. I can't really show you, but they were at the top there. You screw them up through there. And gripper rod extensions. So these are in the top rail, pointing down on what the long gripper rod connects to. And last thing that's in there, 2 remote controls with batteries. Aerials that go up if you want to pull the lift from some distance. Quite retro. And I think that is it. So there are all the parts and everything. So we've got the hoist here, those 2 bits that we covered there, so the floor bit and the electrical cover. Got the actual cart and bits and pieces that are in there, so the floor pan cover and the ceiling piece. We've got the cutout for the floor that the lift goes through. 2 of the rails are there, and we've got 2 more sections of rail out here which are a little bit longer, and the gripper rods that go all the way through there. I think that's it. Oh, and just remember there are sensors at the bottom of the lift, which is why we've got it on those blocks of wood there. And underneath the hoist, you've obviously got the down lights in the lift, as well as a switch to power it on and off. Here's the switch just there. So obviously we'll give you the wood as well, so you can stand it on those bits and pieces. Yeah, I guess that's it.